Hello, Hannah here from Crochet Designs. Thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to look at how I crocheted this granny square poncho. This video comes as a request of a couple of people. Firstly, to show them how I started, and then how I moved from this first row to crochet the granny squares. So let's get started. So this was crocheted off a foundation chain, and it's really important that when you're crocheting your foundation chain for this piece of work, that you crochet in multiples of 4. And the reason for this is, as you can see here, the granny squares are worked in groups of 4. So we have 3 treble crochets and a chain space, 3 treble crochets and a chain space. Now these chain spaces are really vital, because these are what you work your subsequent rows of granny squares into. So as you can see here on this white row, all of these granny squares are worked in that chain space. So after you've got your foundation chain worked in multiples of 4, it's really important that your foundation chain can then be divided into 4 to get your 4 sides. Now all of that sounds really complicated, so I thought I'd do a little mini one with you to show you how I did it. So as I said, this is going to be a little mini one. So here I've chained 32. 32 obviously being a multiple of 4 multiples of 8. Which is again obviously 4 multiples of 2. So that's how I've got my foundation chain. Now in order to get your foundation chain to look like this, you need to crochet into the round. So you need to join the 2 ends together to make a circle initially. The easiest way I've found of doing that is to slide your thumb and your forefinger either side of your foundation chain, slide them along to the end, bring your other 3 fingers in just to stabilize it, and then just double checking it's not twisting. Slide the first foundation chain that you stitch onto the end, and then just before you do the slip stitch to join the 2 ends together, just double check it's not twisting, because otherwise you'll have to undo your work and start again. Do a slip stitch to join the 2 ends together, and again just before you start to work off it, just double check it's not twisting, so that you don't have to undo the rest of your work. So from here you chain 3, and this acts as your first treble crochet. Now as I said earlier, for this little mini one, I've worked a foundation chain of 32, which is 4 sets of 8. So in order to get my first set, this will act as my first treble crochet, so I need to treble crochet 7 more. So I'll just do that quickly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, when you come to the end of the set, just double check you've got the right amount of stitches. So for me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that is my first set on my first side. Now in order to get your corner, you then need to chain 2 and then work your next treble crochet into that same stitch that you just worked into. Okay. And that is what gives you your corner. So as you can see here, just wait for the camera to refocus, you've got a treble crochet, 2 chain stitches, and then another treble crochet into that 1 stitch. Okay. So you then need to do your second side. So that's, for me, that's another set of 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, to get your corner, chain 2, and then work your second treble crochet into that same stitch to get your corner. So as you can see, it's starting now to look a bit more like a square and less like a circle. Now, to speed up this video, to make sure it doesn't go on too long, here's one I did earlier. So here I've done my 4 sides. I just need to do my final corner and then join the 2 together. So I'm going to do, I've already chained 1, so I'm going to chain another 1, work another treble crochet into that same stitch, and then in order to join them together, the way I do it is to put your hook through the top 2 stitches of your first treble crochet, the top of your first treble crochet, and do a slip stitch to join the 2 together, and there you have your square. So this is your first row here. Now, as you can see here, I've done my poncho in different colours. You don't have to, but for ease of you seeing the different stages, I'm actually going to do that one with our little mini one. So here's one that I crocheted just before the video, and I'm going to change colour. So I fastened off my yarn, cut my yarn end and fastened it off. And to join my second colour into this poncho, the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to put my hook through that 2 chain space. I'm then going to make a slip knot. So again, check out the video, one of the videos on my channel if you don't know how to do this. Bring the loop through and then do a chain to secure it, and then chain 2 more, and that will act as your first treble crochet again. So in order to do this section, you need to do another 2 treble crochets, and this will make up the first half of your first corner, and I'll show you what I mean by that at the end of this row. So in order to get your granny squares onto this row, you need to chain 1, then you need to miss this first stitch and do a treble crochet into your second stitch along, and then do another 2 treble crochets into the next 2 stitches. So it will then look like that. So you've got your corner, miss your chain, first chain gap, and then 3 treble crochets, chain 1, miss this stitch here, and work your next treble crochet into this stitch. So miss a stitch and then work your first treble crochet of your second block into the chain to the second stitch along, then work another 2 treble crochets into the next 2 stitches to do your second block. So that creates your second lot of your second granny square. So there should be a chain space here and a chain space here. Chain 1, and then you then reach your 2 chain space that we created by chaining 2 on your first row, and here is when you're going to create your first full corner. And the way you do that is by putting your hook into that 2 chain space, doing 3 treble crochets into that 2 chain space, chain 2, and then do another 3 treble crochets into that same 2 chain space. Okay, and that is what creates your corner. So 3 treble crochets, 2 chains, 3 treble crochets into that same 2 chain space. So to do your second side, you miss this first stitch and do your first treble crochet of your first block on that side into your second stitch along. Okay, so just make sure you miss a stitch. Then do 2 more treble crochets into the next 2 stitches. Okay, again, chain 1, again, miss a stitch, then do another 3 treble crochets in the next 3 stitches to create your second block on that side. Okay, chain 1, again we've reached our corner here, so do another corner, so 3 treble crochets. Oh, chain 2, do another 3 treble crochets into that 2 chain space. Okay, and continue doing that, so continue, then miss a stitch, 3 treble crochets into the next 3 stitches, chain 1, miss a stitch, 3 treble crochets into the next 3 stitches, chain 1, and then we've reached our corner, do another corner, so 3 treble crochets, oh, 2 chains, chain 2, 3 treble crochets, again that same 2 chain space, chain 1, miss a stitch, and then again do another 2 blocks of granny squares. So that's our first block, chain 1, miss a stitch, and our second block. Oh, that's not painful. Okay, and now we've arrived back where we started, and so we now need to finish off this corner, and the way you do that is you chain 1, put your hook into that same 2 chain space that you started. Oh. Do 3 treble crochets into that 2 chain space, chain 2, and then find the top of the first treble crochet that you did in that chain space and slip stitch into it to join that row, to join that row together. And there is your first row of granny squares. Oh, I'll just move it into the camera. Your first row of granny squares. Now again, I'm going to finish off this yarn, so I'm going to chop the yarn and pull it through to secure, and then I'm going to join this red. So again, hook through. I tend to do it at the same corner, so your ends are all in the same corner, and join, in my case, the red into your piece of work. And again, your chain to secure your red acts as your first treble crochet. Do another 2 treble crochets into that same 2 chain space to do the first half of your corner. Again, chain 1. Now this time, instead of doing our treble crochets into the stitches, we're going to move our fingers along until we find that first chain 1 chain space that you made by chaining 1. Put your hook into that 1 chain space and do 3 treble crochets into that 1 chain space. Okay, chain 1, and then again, so work along until you find that next chain space, put your hook into it and do 3 treble crochets into that 1 chain space. Okay, chain 1, and again work along until you can find that next chain space, work 3 treble crochets into it, chain 1, and then now you've reached your corner, so we're going to do another corner. So we're going to put a hook into that 2 chain space, work 3 treble crochets into it, chain 2, put your hook into that same 2 chain space again and work another 3 treble crochets into that same 2 chain space to make up our corner, chain 1, and again on this side work along until you find that 1 chain space, work 3 treble crochets into that space, chain 1, work along until you find that 1 chain space, work 3 treble crochets into that 1 chain space, chain 1, and keep doing that until you reach the end of your row. So again, hook into the 1 chain space, 3 treble crochets into that space, chain 1, find your corner and work a corner into that 2 chain space, 3 treble crochets, 2 chains, and another 3 treble crochets, chain 1, and then work back down this side, working in all the working 3 treble crochets into your single chain space, chain 1, another 3 treble crochets into the next chain space, chain 1, again hook into that 1 chain space, 3 treble crochets, chain 1, and a corner, my yarn keeps slipping off my hook today. Now I often actually weave in my ends as I go. I haven't done that today, so my ends keep coming free. And again, if you want some handy hints and tips on how to weave in your ends, do check out my other video. So again, we need to finish off our corner. So I've chained 1, put your hook in that 2 chain space, treble crochet 3, chain 2, and then put your hook through the top of your first stitch, top stitch in your first treble crochet. Again, it can be a little bit fiddly. I tend to use my nails for this. Got any? And slip stitch. Oh, to join the 2. Oh wow, this is tight. Ends together. And that is your second row of granny squares, and how you work your granny squares into your second row. So for me, I just stuck to 3 colours here. So you can see I've done yellow, grey and white. You can do as many colours as you like, and just keep doing that until you get it to the size that you want. So again, put your hook in there, treble crochet into that 2 chain space, chain 1, then work your second lot of treble crochets into that chain space there, and work along until your poncho is as big as you would like it to